Good morning, walkers. Today you are going through Old Town Tallinn, Estonia. I actually recorded this a couple days ago, similar walk, but somehow deleted the files, so we get to do it again. It is mid to late July. It's about, let's say, 65 degrees Fahrenheit, which is something like 22 maybe Celsius. Correct me if I'm wrong on that. Tallinn, formerly known as Revel, or Old Danish for Deerfall, is about 800 years old this year, if you date it to when the Danes came and killed a bunch of Estonians on a crusade. But there was a settlement here prior to that. What else do we got? We've been here for a couple weeks now, and this old town is a warren of side streets down there. See the city walls, and they don't go in straight lines like many of these old towns, and so it's hard to really find a organized, direct route that covers everything without duplicating. So we may cross back over our track here. It is about about 9 o'clock in the morning, a little after, on a Saturday, and in about an hour or two this place will be thrumming with cruise ship tourists and tour groups. There doesn't seem to be a lot of people that live down in the old town. They really work hard on selling the medieval nature of it. It is an amazingly preserved town. The buildings here are amazing. You can get all sorts of free walking tours. Lots of tourist services and museums and cafes and that sort of thing. So it's a lot of fun to come down here and wander around and learn about the city. What else? Sorry, I had a whole spiel for last time. In any case, we are currently headed, I think, west into the lower Old Town, and there's an upper Old Town where it was more fortified originally and where the nobility tended to live. This was more of a merchant area. Tallinn was part of the Hanseatic League, which was a German trading federation, primarily German, and that's what brought a lot of its wealth here. They, of course, were part of the Soviet Union, but got their independence in the mid-90s after a bloodless revolution as the Soviet system collapsed. They actually have a great movie called The Singing Revolution, which describes the process and how important singing is to this culture. We were lucky enough to be here for the once every 5 year singing festival and saw this basically a 4-hour procession of all these singing groups marching down the main boulevards towards the singing grounds for the festival. And they're all dressed in traditional garb for their regions. And you can check out more about that on travelingmill.com, which is our partner site, or our partner channel, basically our family travel channel. This is the town hall, this building in front of you. Statue at the top called Old Thomas. I can't really tell with this angle lens. That is something. I'm using a different camera today because the Osmo just doesn't have a wide enough lens for these narrow streets. And I want to make sure you guys get a good view. So I'm using the Sony with a jeune Weeble gimbal, the little one. And a lot of days they'll have a market in here, but today it is nice and empty. And I know a lot of you like to see a lot of people out and about, but when you're filming in a crowded area, you tend to just get the backs of people, backs of their heads, backs of their shoulders. So this is the Old Town Square. And I would tell you what it was in Estonian, but I really have a hard time pronouncing all the vowels and that sort of thing. we are going to go down and wind our way through the streets. I think I've talked enough for a little bit. Also, if there is any ambient music like put out by restaurants or bars, I'll be covering that up with other crowd sounds and that sort of thing, so I don't violate YouTube's copyright policies. Again, there's the music, so we're going to go this way, which is actually kind of cool. We're going to go down by this house. This pink house is actually a chocolate shop and cafe off to the right. It's a great little coffee shop we just passed on our left. Wonderful pastries. Most people here speak English, so if you are touring around, it's pretty easy to take tours, and a lot of the signs are in English at museums and Russian, and so it's actually a lot of fun. Go this way. This is the old Great Guild Hall and Museum. I'm going to just keep going though. Oh, one thing, I should have said this earlier. Give me a comment if you have things you'd like to see, things you like, you don't like, just comments about the area, mistakes I may have made, or information you have that I didn't include. That's always appreciated, especially if you're local. Give us a thumbs up if you like it. Hit that bell and subscribe and get notified. That's what the bell does. So hit the bell, get notified, and subscribe. And, just tell us what you like, what you don't like. I do read all those comments. Off to the left here, this sort of building right before the street to the left, is number 1 Pagari, which is the old KGB jail cells and basically interrogation areas. It's now a museum in the basement, which is a little chilling but very interesting. And then the rest is residential. And then coming up, I think it's St. Olaf's, which was the tallest structure in Europe for hundreds of years. I think until the Eiffel Tower. That's what our guide said, but I'm not entirely sure the accuracy of that. You can see it from almost everywhere in the city. The tower, anyway. And it's quite old. They actually had to make it shorter because it kept getting struck by lightning and burning. And then they figured if they lowered it a few stories, it might make things real easy. See the tower there. We're gonna pop down here, back down towards the east. We're on Sulavimegi. I don't know how to pronounce that. I'm sorry. I would love to know better how to pronounce and read the Estonian language, which is based mainly on Finland rather than any of the Slavic languages. And some German influence as well, and some Russian, apparently. Here, hopefully we can find it. There's a little alley called St. Catherine's Alley. And it's kind of difficult to find your way around. Not really find your way, but there's all these nooks and crannies. I think I missed it. There are many hotels and restaurants down here that I think I mentioned. This one is the Schlossel Hotel, but there's also Radisson's and other fancy boutique hotels, or you can stay just off the center in the very modern steel and glass area, which is a 5-minute walk away. There are also several hostels here. There's a beautiful church there, but we're going to Here's St. Catherine's Alley. Kiek, I guess is how they say it here. Over here on the wall are apparently tombstones from St. Catherine's Dominican Friary. Huge. It must have been laid flat, but I'm guessing. See if there are places to walk around the walls. The city walls here are remarkably intact, and there's several places where you can go and walk up around in there and explore the towers. I think we're going to try to go here. Hopefully we won't redo too much ground. This is Helamani Torn above us.
Вот сейчас у меня вот тоже какой-то такой странный.
Perché ya pasti.
Hát van egy ilyen kis változás, de azért nekik nem fogom elmondani.
Getting into an area where there are a lot of these boutique fancy dress shops and that sort of thing. Here's Hestia Hotel Barons on the right. That's one of those boutique hotels. It's very nice. This is a tourist information center. Off to the right is the old town square again. And I have to stop this and restart it because of file length issues. I'm going to head over this way, and go towards Freedom Square. Off to the right, this church is, I don't know how to say this, but Niguliste Kiek. That's about all I know. If you see these gray marks on the right of the pavement here, these, I don't even know what to call this, but it's basically stone work. That is where buildings used to be, but they were bombed in World War II and or by the Soviets. And that marks their former boundaries. It's now mainly a park. I'm going to go up here to Freedom Square, but then do a double back for about a block, because we're going to take a different route up to the upper city. So this is Freedom Square, and it's really just a public square where they have events and gatherings. I don't really know the history behind it, but I think they did gather here during the Singing Revolution. And then they have this old monument. It used to be a Soviet monument, but is now commemorating something else. And then I don't really know. It's called the Radvik, maybe? No, that's something else. Anyway, we're going to double back and make a left at the end, back at this park, and go up the hill. One of the neat little touches is these bird shapes, which are used as traffic barriers. They're all over the city. I just thought it was a cool touch. And I know I said I wasn't going to talk much, but that's a tough ask. That tower, we'll get closer in a minute, but is at the Kiek Museum. At least I think that's how you pronounce it. And you can go in there. There's a whole system of, there's 3 or 4 little museums in there. Quite good, as well as some old tunnels from the fortifications of the 1700s that have been used over the centuries. Wrong turn. Pretty sure there's a pathway up the hill here. Just gotta find it. There it is. It's all steps. So, the Knights-Sitorn Museum and coffee shop. Kovik means cafe. And there's like 5 or 6 floors in that tower with some really interesting displays. And of course you can walk along the walls. That.
Langsam.
So here's a section of the wall. Just still intact. There's, like I said, there's a ton of it still intact. Some of it's been converted, not this section, but some of it's converted to office spaces and residences, maybe? I'm not really sure. This section's a museum. And like I said, you can go up to a lot of the sections. Which brings up the Tallinn card. There's this Tallinn card you can get at the visitor information area. And it's 24, 48, 72 hours. And you pay a certain amount, and then you get into a lot of things, sites and museums and activities, etc., either as part of the price or with a steep discount. So depending on what you plan on doing, and there's a lot to do here, then it may be worth your time and effort. And money, I guess, is what I really meant to say. This outside section of the city, just outside the walls on the, I want to say the north side, has been converted into a park, which is pretty cool. And I'm going to go out to this overlook here and show you part of the more modern section of the city, see what it kind of looks like. And then we'll go continue on up the hill to see a cathedral and some parliament buildings and stuff in a few minutes. I think I said north earlier and I should have said south. Anyway, you can see probably a cathedral down there, but then beyond that a lot of glass, high rises and steel. And then off to your left would be the port and the Baltic. Tallinn especially, which is about 450,000 people, and is by far the largest city in Estonia. But Estonia in general has made a lot of money since leaving the Soviet Union and joining the EU in IT, technology, and communications. And they're doing quite well here, which is good to see. They are on the euro. Up ahead, you can see the onion domes of, I believe it's St. Olaf's. Oh, no, I'm sorry, Alexander Nevsky Cathedral. And we're going to head up there next. And off to the right is the Kiek Tower, which means, I think in Old Danish or Old German, peek into the kitchen. Because you used to be able to look down into some kitchens from there. We're going to go up this way so we don't have to double back. plus it's in the shade. We are at 59 degrees north here, and so even in July, it's quite bright almost all night. And those seagulls that you may have heard are loud at 4:30 in the morning. Luckily, our apartment, you can close the windows and it seals off the sound pretty well. This seems to be a place where a lot of the tour groups launch from, I think because the buses can get up close, drop people off. Plus this cathedral, Alexander Nevsky Cathedral, is quite stunning. You can go inside. I'm not going to go inside because this camera rig is so big and I just feel like that's not really appropriate. So, because people are in there praying and communing with their God, and I don't want to interrupt that. Off to the left is, I believe, the Parliament of Estonia. Yep. That's pretty much all I know about that. There's another church over here, a newer church. I think it's called. Let me look that up. Kiek, maybe? No, Kiek. Sorry about that. We had a little bit of a blip because of the battery needed to be redone. Switch batteries, I mean. There's the Kiek. If I recall correctly from the other day, should be an overlook down here, not too far. Although, I may have it completely wrong. There's several overlooks, actually. This will be one of a couple more. It's one of the things I like about coming out early to do these walks is, I think I mentioned this, there's fewer people. You have places like this mostly to yourself. The other day when I was filming, got into one of these and there were two tour groups in an area much smaller than this, and made it a little challenging to get past and on my way walking. Right, I'm pretty sure we're looking west here. And to the north is the Baltic. And a little bit to the west. We're in a big bay here. I was here the other day, I didn't notice these steps lead down to the base and part of the park that wraps around this side of the city. If you look out right about there in the center of your screen is the train station where we will be starting our next walk and exploring the Teleskivi, I think that's how you say it, section. And if you look out this way, you can see a ferry or cruise ship coming in. So this way you see I think it's St. Olaf's, that tall church, and a couple, 2 or 3 towers, 4 towers, 5 towers that I can see along the walls. Let's keep going.
Смотрите, какой высокий.
There's another viewing platform off the left.
Мальчик там должен на меня оформить связь новую. Надо это дело купить телефон тебе. Пусть не забудет. Ну,
I feel like maybe I took a wrong turn somewhere.
来，我们都过来，都过来，全部都过来，在这边集中来求这个教堂。
看车看车
因为有车哈，很危险。来来来，我跟你讲。
But I get another view of Alexander Nevsky Cathedral, which is beautiful in this light. Now we're going to head back down into the lower Old Town. couple other locations. This is nice because the last time I did the walk that I deleted, I had to come up this hill, which is bumpy and long. This brick building up here is the Estonian Academy of Sciences.
Так что вот. Я поеду, нет, я поеду. Ты знаешь, я вчера что-то пойду, по-моему, я зависела.
The only thing I'm going to point out here is the shop right here. It's 24-hour home jog. We've had about 20 euros worth of ice cream out of that place so far since we've been here. I think I mentioned earlier that Tallinn, the old name for Tallinn was Reval, R-E-V-A-L, which is Old Danish apparently for deer fall. And this little park has a statue of a deer commemorating that, named by one of the first Danish kings that was here. Here's one of the gates to the city. You can also go up in one of these towers. And I think that's where I'm going to leave you today. Thanks so much for joining us. I hope you enjoyed this. I really love this old town. It's a joy to walk around in. Such historic everything, really. 800 years old, much of it. Some of it, 800, some of it 600. So much to see and do and learn here. And I didn't show everything there was to see, but we covered a lot. This is the direction you go to the train station in the Teleskivi region, or area that we're going to go to in our next walk, which I actually did a couple days ago. And it's really kind of cool. It's sort of a hip area with food trucks and bars and a lot of art and that sort of stuff. And then off into this more traditional neighborhood with wood homes and, a lot like this leafy tree place. Give us a like, leave us a comment, please. Leave us suggestions. We're going to go to Switzerland. Actually, we're going to go to Helsinki for a couple days, and then St. Petersburg for a couple days, and then Switzerland. But we'll be in Switzerland by the time you see this. Leave us some suggestions of places to go, things to see, interesting walks in those locations. I love to get first-hand knowledge and recommendations. So thanks for joining us. Have a great day, and we'll close off with a view of the gates here, tree-lined street, parks, beautiful, beautiful city.